Hey, Snackers, this is Kareem and Skander.
Hey everyone, Matt the Napoli here.
Welcome to episode 191 of Snack Minute.
In this episode, we're gonna do really quickly another Kareem and Matt episode.
Yes.
But we're going back to basics. We're gonna go back in time and kind of level set for people that are like, should I get CCNA? NetAcad sounds interesting. What should I do now that I'm interested in tech? Or I'm looking for a change in career, where do we get started? And we want to take a few minutes and kind of level set for our new snackers. We're getting close to 200 episodes, and Kareem and I thought it'd be a good time to, go a little bit back in time and see where all these valuable things that we've talked about over the last almost 5 years can be useful. So
Yeah.
Kareem, I'm gonna start it off by asking you a question. All right, rewind. It's 10 years ago and you're 24 years old. I'm kidding.
Are you trying to call me old?
No, I'm older than you. I know. It's a few years ago and you're thinking about what you want to do with your career. You want to get into tech. Network engineering sounds cool. Where do you start today?
I'm having difficulties answering this because 10 years ago, AI was not in the mix.
AI is in the mix today. I'm saying you are
today, and that that might change my answer. So maybe I'll answer as if we were 10 years ago, and then I'll say if you're getting in today.
I phrased that wrong.
Okay, so 10 years ago, Kareem, I probably would still go on the same path because it's very relevant today. I would get started with network engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I would understand the basic of networking. CCNA is still a core skill that is needed today more than ever, actually. If we're talking about AI,
yeah,
I would enhance my networking skills with automation. I would take up some type of programming, Python. I would understand APIs. I would do the get started with DevNet, essentially.
Yeah.
And I would actually focus a little bit more on networking and from a human aspect, not like computer networking, as in the soft skills.
Oh, okay.
So I would as part of the technical skills, I would actually work on communication. I would work on just opening up my network in general and getting to know people, learning from folks in my organization who have been doing this for a while, learning from the community in general. I think this is something that I felt like I didn't do well initially, because when you first get started, you tend to be super focused on how am I going to learn this and how do I move up to my career, and you get to focus on the projects and the work, but you miss the human aspect of things. And I think these are actually core skills that are important. What about you?
Well, I like your take on soft skills. I'll answer it in a second, but the take on soft skills is an interesting one because it's something that we kind of leave as an afterthought now, even so. There's books and things you can pick up and read, but course material is kind of tough to come by because we focus on those technical aspects of things. And so, man, I really like that advice of kind of putting yourself out there. It requires, I think, a certain vulnerability that some of us in tech don't always have. But
that kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like if there's almost like a certain persona when you're in tech that you're so uber focused on being alone and closed and deep into like the CLI that you miss the human aspect. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I like that one. What would I have done differently? So, I mean, as we all know, snackers, I'm not a network engineer by practice or trade. I think I would have spent some more time digging into that aspect of what we do. I've always kind of learned it on the fly in regards to what I had to know for automation and programmability. And so I took kind of for granted some of the things that I did. So this is more advice for those software developers that might be bleeding into infrastructure, because I think it's worthwhile getting those foundational aspects of networking, compute, storage, to understand those things to help influence automation and programmability aspects within IT operations. So it's the reverse potential aspect that you ran into, but only because I started out as a software developer. So the infrastructure side for me was, oh, it's the network's fault. Oh, just get me a server and I'll run my code there. So
Right.
I took that all for granted early in my career. And then only when I started really working for Cisco did I understand how integral it was into the IT operations aspect. And really, I think that bleeds into another thing that I would advise people to do, which is understand from like a stack perspective, from bottom to top, what it means to be part of IT operations. And and we've talked about this for such a long time in DevNet, in trying to narrow that gap between application development teams and the infrastructure teams, and trying to blend them together.
Mm.
And still to this day, 13 years later after DevNet started, we're still touting that same message, that we believe that IT operations, DevOps, and SecOps work better together when everyone kind of understands, at least at some level, what they're doing. And so if I didn't have necessarily a particular interest at that networking or SecOps layer, I at least have an appreciation for what those engineers have to go through. So when I'm writing my code or deploying my code, I'm making it easier, not just for them, but for me down the road when they come to me and they say, hey, Matt, this is broken, or you've exposed this because you're using this library, that I can, not say, oh,
Right.
operations is making me fix my stuff. I can understand what they're going through and then say, yeah, sure. Or I'll think of it ahead of time so they don't even have to worry about it. I think that's where I would, yes, have your focus, but have that appreciation for everything else that's going on in the stack.
Yeah, we're talking about back to basics. So basically, get back to the core pieces of what you are going to be doing.
Yeah.
In that case, that stack that you talk about, which is really important. I think that changes a little bit in today's world, though, right, Matt?
Fair.
Let me ask you this now. You're today and you're getting into IT and you're getting started. What would be the plan for you to get back to basics?
Yeah, so I always like the coding aspect. I'd start with that personally. Where I would be, and maybe this is where it's hard for me to put my mindset back to when I was in my 20s. Where I would be a little bit skeptical is kind of things around vibe coding and leveraging AI in those aspects. I do think probably younger me might have been a more open to that concept. Older me, the immediate thing I go to is where can this cause problems? That's a trend that seems to be being adopted from a technology perspective, or we just look at the underlying tools of those things, understanding Gen AI tooling and how it can be used within those particular roles that you have interest. I would spend some time on those. That's probably the added layer that I would look into, but really focusing on the interconnectivity of things. So from the networking layer up to the application deployment layer, they all have elements that tie them together. They're not siloed. And so starting today, going back to what I said initially, I would have put more appreciation into understanding the various layers to get my application out the door.
So you would still get into basic networking, understanding that, take up some programming. I'm repeating what you're saying because I feel the exact same way.
Okay,
that
fair.
would have been my answer as well, which is spot on, which is like get the basics of networking. Traverse that layer all the way up to the application and figure out like, okay, how does that all come together from an AI perspective? And I think I think there's an aspect there that we talk about a lot, Matt, is when you do that, you become a better critical thinker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good tool and skill that you must have in today's world. I have to agree on something too, is if you don't have the skills and you've never programmed before, don't go into vibe code.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's no ability to decipher if that was a hallucination or not, or if this code is proper or not, and you can't go to production if you can't tell.
Yeah,
I wouldn't start if you've never touched code, even if you have experience in everything but coding, don't start by vibe coding. Learn the basics. Learn how to properly write Python code, how to do automation scripts, Ansible, Terraform. Then you can get into vibe coding and use that to help you, but don't start the other way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Kareem. Those foundational aspects are still absolutely necessary. We kind of talked to Hank about that a few weeks ago when we were talking about how AI would influence CCIE. You have to know how these foundational things work, and can't take that part for granted now. And what I worried about over the last 2 years is some of those things are being taken for granted. I am seeing some industry acknowledgement of that, like ChatGPT just put out its Learn platform. It's realizing, hey, you're short-circuiting yourself as a growth for an individual.
Yeah.
And here's how you can do this thing in a step-by-step process rather than just getting the answer and hoping it's right, maybe,
Right.
or doing some kind of validation in that. So I think it's cool that it's being acknowledged on the industry side as well. So just to wrap up, Kareem, you're very specifically entrenched in Learn with Cisco. And so, are there, let's say, just to wrap up, the number one first step you would take today, what would that be? What course would it be? What certification would it be? And then we'll call it a day.
Depends on your level of knowledge. So NetAcad has NetAcad has some really good resources to get you started with networking, with AI. We'll make sure that to have all the links below here, this video, for you to get started. But if you're a little bit above that, where you've been in the industry for a couple of years and you're into networking, CiscoU itself, we have a learning path on the basic of networking that will take you from the NetAcad journey into CiscoU to get you started with this. We have Python for network engineers. That's another great course if you've done some network engineering and you're looking to take some content on how to program and automate. That's another thing that you would take next. We have plenty of free tutorials. Let's say you don't have the subscription level that you need to access some of these courses. There are plenty of CiscoU tutorials to get you started with whatever technology you're looking to get started with. It's very hands-on. So from basic of networking, we have the hands-on portions of the CCNA blueprint as tutorials where you can go practice. We'll make sure that all of that is packaged for you in links below, but we have plenty of resources that get you started with all of that.
Cool.
And we're here to help, right?
Yeah.
We have a great learning community. We have Cisco Learning Network. If you have any questions, if you want to ask me and Matt questions, just hop on there and ask us whatever, or just leave a comment below.
Thank you for that, Kareem. Snackers, thank you so much. Hopefully this gets you kind of excited and ready to go if you're getting started or jumping back in, getting back to basics. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you, Snackers.